Chicago, we be getting close. What's
You
happening?
guys got 90 seconds.
Excellent.
90 seconds.
That's an eternity.
Now it's 80 seconds.
80 seconds.
79.
79.
I feel. Oh God, it's getting worse, or better, / great / terrible.
I got my hotkey set up.
Sweet. That's how you do it.
All right, 60 seconds, guys.
Okay.
Instant toothless here. Ah.
Almost there. All right, let's jump straight into me and Johnny. Oh, I forgot to put him in that screen, so hold on one second. I gotta copy and paste you in there. We're getting ready to start. Hi, everybody. Hi, chat room. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, etc. Here we go.
Seconds.
And pow! There he is.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Now, live from Chicago, the Hal Sparks radio program Mega Worldwide.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Hal Sparks, comedian and multimedia personality.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Hal Sparks.
All right, let's do this.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Happy Saturday to you. We're gearing up for it, folks. It's getting darn close. 2 weeks and change, and this whole ridiculousness, we get to put it behind us. We get to put Donald Trump in the rearview mirror forever. Please get out and vote. Look, the vote turnout is higher than expected already. Donald Trump is driving people to the polls in mass, and they are not his voters. A lot of Democrats, a lot of Haley voters, a lot of Rovember happening all over the place, and Trump knows it. It's part of the reason why he swayed for 39 minutes to the gayest playlist this side of Halstead. Ladies and gentlemen, I know I have Queer as Folk cast members who are like, ease off the gas pedal there, pal. And
I'm more obsessed with the pee-pad that I saw on the Fox Morning show.
Yeah, all right, I think that was his coat. But can I just say this? You've seen the movie Step Brothers, right?
It.
I know. You've seen the movie Step Brothers, right?
Oh God, it's the first movie I bought in the cloud.
Oh wow, there you go. Okay, so the effing Catalina wine mixer is one of the crucial points of that. And one of the songs that they do at the end is from Bolero, I guess, called "Time to Say Goodbye" in Italian, and then there's an Italian, then there's an English version of it. And it's when everything goes to hell and the 80s doo-wop only Billy Joel cover band gets mad and walks out because somebody asks them to play The Stranger from the 70s. And they storm off stage. The whole thing's going to collapse. But John C. Reilly saves it with a drum solo, goes up there, and then calls up Will Ferrell. And Will Ferrell,
the voice of an angel.
He does have the voice. He's been called the songbird of his generation. And he puts a cassette in of the song that Trump has played multiple times at his thing, "Time to Say Goodbye," which is, by the way, is his goodbye theme. I'm just saying. He does that. That song. Okay, that is right. Trump played that in his Sway Fest the other day, And the whole time when he played Ave Maria, it was embarrassing because they played the instrumental version twice, and then he was mad because they didn't play the Pavarotti part, so he was yelling at his people about it. That was funny enough. But when he played the song that was the salvage song from Step Brothers, all I can hear in my head while that's happening is John C. Reilly going, "Boats and hoes," while he's playing the drums,
Boats and
right?
hose.
Boats and hoes. So
Boats and hose.
being completely just out of the meme loop, considering how right wingers have all prided themselves on that kind of stuff, and just not like beyond just playing music for 39 minutes and standing there like a toddler in a musical with no lines, doing that kind of shoulder waddle. Right. I don't know what to do with my hands. We're so proud of Donnie this year. They let him be a pumpkin as long as he doesn't say anything. So he's doing this weird, that little waddle that he does where his shoulders go back and forth, and he plays music for half an hour. And then yesterday he's falling asleep at his Michigan Gab Fest where and then he goes to allegedly his rally that has 10,000 people, which you know what that means. 1,000 people. Basically, it's either 3 times or 10 times the number all the time. And at that one, his mic stopped working, and he threatened to sue the people that that supplied him with the mic and did the sound for the thing, like it was on purpose. Yeah,
that's what I do.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's when people want to, and this was really odd too.
Guitar my monitor, I'm gonna sue.
Yeah, he stomps around on stage like for 16 minutes, and I gotta say, friends, you can do a thing where hey, we're gonna get this fixed. I'm gonna go back and check on it. You can leave the stage until it works. If it takes more than 3 minutes, you can leave the stage and they can play music while you're not standing there like an idiot, and then you can come back out. No one faults you for that. Tech things happen all the time. They happen at concerts. They happen at lectures. They've happened to everybody from Marianne Williamson to Tony Robbins to Dale Carnegie, I suppose. Yeah, David Lee Roth. Like everything, stuff happens, and it's okay. It's how you handle it that the audience remembers. And if you yeah, and you can be like Kiss when there's a problem and just go backstage and get a bullhorn and tell everybody it's going to be all right and they'll get it fixed, and then go backstage and let them play music videos from the band until they fix it, which they've done in the past. Or you can Perry Farrell your way through it and punch your guitar player after, shoulder checking him a couple times. And
he actually, I'm mad at him because he got that bit from us when he would come back and sock me.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Wrong
I
direction.
went the wrong way. God
you
damn
did.
it.
It was actually good.
I'm ready
actually.
for the next one.
Can't say that on radio, Johnny.
Yeah, you can't say that one on radio. You have to put a big pause between those two words.
Sorry.
Yeah. You got to say, I highly recommend Dag Nabbit. It's got a real early Warner Brothers cartoon. Rats and Kratz and Fragasagan. Yep. So, but you got it back. It's all right. So, point being is that Trump has had a myriad of issues with his rallies and his gatherings, and he's canceled a bunch of events, largely the ones that involve people of color or any place he can't hawk his garbage. So you'll notice that he ditches out on this podcast aimed at black people. That's not filmed. If it's filmed, then he'll show up, I guess. But it was aimed, if it's just aimed at that market, they don't have any money, so it's better to go on Fox and Friends. You know what I mean? Like skip out on that one and go where the money is. And if the Fox audience still has money for pre-lubricated catheters, they certainly have enough money left over for his $60 Chinese-made fake leather Trump Bible that never read and only dropped once. And to paraphrase Full Metal Jack something. Anyways, the reality is, and I think it's setting in Trump world, is that Trump is going to lose. And one of the ways you could tell Trump is going to lose is because Polymarket was just hijacked. Polymarket is the betting site where you can bet on who's going to win the election. And Americans, according to Mark Cuban, are not, I don't bet because I chose a life in the theater and I'm walking away from the table with my winnings. I'm doing just fine. Anybody, you don't press the fates anymore. But I was like, I made it through the 90s. We're good. Yeah. That said.
Rolling the dice every day.
No, yeah, exactly. It's enough for anybody. But, you know, Americans can't bet on the markets according to Mark Cuban. I don't know if that's true. I think you could probably do it using a VPN or something. I don't know. But either way, like that, there was an infusion of something like four different anonymous sourced crypto bros who may be the same person, may be from the Trump campaign, and the same people that are pump and dumping Trump's truth sinkhole stock. Or I suppose it could be, you know, foreign influence campaigns and the like, which is whatever. But the fact that it is jacked up so precipitously and so quickly shows that this is an attempt to manipulate the market and the belief that everybody has that after the election, when he loses, that he was supposed to win. This is what the poll jacking is for. And I introduced this word to everybody earlier this year when Trump was getting these very high poll numbers, including areas where he hadn't gotten them before, or this illusion of Biden being completely unpopular, garbage, hooey, silly. And the people who voted for Biden didn't suddenly have this enormous chunk of buyer's remorse. It didn't work that way at all. And this, like, Trump was selling this at the same time. It's a strategy. They were selling this idea at the same time that lots of Democrats are telling me they're upset. They voted for Biden and now they're going to come and vote for me. No way, not happening, not ever, silliness. Even the alleged groups of Muslims in Michigan that they're saying are going to vote Trump's way have all, when they poll these folks, they're saying they're going to vote third party, Jill Stein or nobody at all, which is going to not move the needle in Michigan at all. They weren't necessarily going to be all in for Biden anyways. It's not an enormous number of people. And ultimately, what are you going to do but help Trump get elected, I suppose? And all that says to me is that these are Muslims. I mean, there's Muslims aren't a monolith. It might shock people. Beyond the Sunni and Shia division that exists in the world, there are certainly those Muslims that can't stand the Palestinians. They're known as, I guess, Jordanians or Egyptians or Saudis, or and so they're just fine with Trump helping Netanyahu turn Gaza into a parking lot. They're good with that. As a matter of fact, they're for it. So, of course, they're going to vote for Trump because he's going to enable Netanyahu to do whatever he wants, and that'll bring about God's will or the end of the world or whatever. The same reason the evangelicals say they're so pro-Israel, so that all the Jews can be rounded up in that place and wait for Jesus to come and wag a finger at them as they all,
Let's hurry up and get the rapture here by being awful.
Yeah, right. Let's kickstart the rapture. But somewhere between Kirk Cameron calling Jesus's bluff and forcing everybody into a pen, and then, or like that evangelical group in the late 80s, early 90s that was attempting to sneak a dirty nuke into the Temple on the Mount so that they could, the mosque that's there, so that they could level it and start from scratch, and that would bring the Antichrist or something. Like, I mean, it's a great plan. If it wasn't so insane and grotesque and pointless and stupid. But anyways, we got to take a break. When we come back, there's this thing that Trump keeps complaining about Mexico and factories that are his fault. For the record, we'll be back. All right. And I always have to check. We're up on Instagram. Good. Ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Million's right there on the Insta and the gram, and he's right there everywhere else.
Right.
I should probably. I got to learn to point both directions for this stuff instead of just one direction. Oh, sad. Why are you wearing glasses on top of over your face there, Johnny Million? Are you afraid that people will realize you're a fake voter? Thank you. What's going on? Stop it. Dubba 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 boom. Dubba 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 dubba. Snoop Johnny Johnny Johnny. Snoop Johnny Johnny Johnny. That's much better. It's a good look. Zero complaints.
See if anybody notices.
I doubt it.
Super subtle.
Also, I think a bunch of them are going to go. Thank you. It looks like you're about to go.
Welcome back to the House Sparks radio program.
I already did that.
Mm-hmm. Welcome back to the show. So, Johnny Million, how much have you seen of, and by the way, you look fantastic. I just want to say and remind everybody that Johnny Million has a live stream called It's Johnny Million, which was, by the way, do you know It's was the original name of Monty Python's Flying Circus? And they just they were not going to have a title. They were going to have this guy, Michael Palin's character, that looks like Sweetums from the Muppets. He would crawl through broken glass and over a hill and all this kind of stuff and go, "It's," and then the show would start. So because they'd never have a title, and then the people at the BBC said they needed a title, and they were like, it needed something wacky sounding that sounded like a thing that already exists. And I'm paraphrasing, of course, but Eric Idle came up with he always liked the name Monty Python, and so Flying Circus.
That's a good name.
It's great. It's great in retrospect. It's really silly then. Imagine if it didn't take off. Think of all the shows that, didn't land and their adorable names. Yeah. So, anyways, how much of Trump's stuff have you watched lately? Like as far as either clips of his nonsense on, from stuff like what Aaron
a decent amount. I've seen some pretty bad stuff lately. It's getting a lot of exposure.
Yeah. He's getting a lot of play. Okay. Not the least of which, by the way, is, I suppose, his exhaustion and his kind of grumpiness all the time, right? That's kind of a normal part of it. But one of the things he has these recurring stories. And I know a lot of people have heard these recurring stories. People, sir, they come up to me, they say, sir, tears in their eyes, big, strong guy, bulging veins in his neck. They all look like Tyrus, guys that don't cry or weep. And you saved my life, sir, by making sure that, my wife couldn't get a divorce or whatever. I don't know, whatever the current awful is. But one of the stories he tells is that he has his friend that builds factories. He could build skyscrapers, but he just doesn't want to. The guy just loves to build
building
factories. He loves it. Right. You've heard this story, yes? Okay. So
yeah,
he loves this. It's his thing. And he's always talking about how how futuristic the factories he builds are. You could throw a switch and the whole thing just works. It's basically all automated. And Trump tells this guy, I want to see one of these factories, right? Take me to see one of these factories. And the guy goes, in the United States, he specifically says this to the guy in the apocryphal garbage non-canon story that he keeps making up. Take me to see one of these in the United States. Michigan, South Carolina, 2 states that I need to or want to visit. And the guy says, you can't, sir. You can't. Because we don't make them here in the United States. We only make them in Mexico. They only make these factories in Mexico. And Trump goes, I don't want to go to Mexico. I don't like flies and mosquitoes, and I don't like Mexico factories. So he goes, I'm not going to go see one in Mexico. He goes, this is where all the biggest ones are being made. These are all the best ones. This guy, his best friend or whatever, that will remain nameless forever, magically is building the biggest factories in the world in Mexico for American car manufacturers / China, which again, gibberish. But the reason, and he's like, these factories, they're so modern that you just flip a switch and the whole thing just runs. And then he follows up and he says, we need to build those here in Michigan. Here, we need to build one here in Michigan. Okay. Here's my question, Johnny Million.
Cool.
Why? Yeah. Why does Michigan need an auto plant that has 9 employees and draws more from the electrical grid than it produces in economic development? That might.
He's in Michigan at the time.
Yeah, right. That's the part I don't understand of all this is what is the benefit to the UAW, to union workers, to anybody to bring up this alleged, and by the way, let's just be abundantly clear, this whole story is garbage. It's just made up. I have no doubt he has a friend who makes factories or has worked on a factory or designed one, but the guy's not like, he's not like a goose that lays golden factories. It's just weird. And so he tells this story again and again. And the question I keep wanting someone to ask him is, why in the world does Michigan need an entirely automated plant? If the whole point is jobs and to restore the prestige of Detroit, how does that happen? Other than, again, stress the electrical grid, what benefit comes to the workers and the people of Detroit? Because the factory that used to have people working in it is humming all night long, right? With just like, it's got more security guards than actual workers. Yeah. Lizard King also in the chat room points out a very important point, which is that Donald Trump doesn't have any friends. And that's also why this is a garbage story. But the point is that he's not wrong in one way. He's like, he mishears all these stories from whoever the hell's telling him these stories. But he mishears these stories all the time. And there are tremendous advances in automation in these big plants. And that will continue even in the plants in the United States. And that is a direction that we're going, from robots to full-on automation in a lot of these factories. That's the way we are going. But that's a bigger nut to crack as far as jobs. And, some people have been talking about the necessity of UBI to replace jobs that are no longer done, or maybe every automated element of a factory, including the robots there, work in parallel with another human being. So instead of cutting the workforce in half, it just doubles the production, or 10x's it, I guess, effectively, is the other thing it could do. But those are serious concerns and serious conversations about the automation aspect. But this cartoonish story he tells, where right to union workers or alleged union workers, again, a lot of the people that he has at these events with him are not even, they're either scabs or they don't work in the auto industry at all.
And that has to be the case because he's always accusing somebody else of doing that. So that means he's just doing it.
That's exactly right. And so there is again, it's an absurd story. It's ridiculous. But a single pushback on it would deflate it right in front of him. There's some of his stories that it takes. There's so much word salad and they're so all over the place that it would take a little while to break down the ridiculousness of it. You know what I mean? If you we get into tariffs, you get into the conversation about tariffs and why tariffs always raise prices for consumers. Certainly in the beginning, at least for years. And by the way,
it's his favorite word in the dictionary, Hal.
It is. You know what tariffs will do to the economy? The way Trump wants to do them. The same thing supply shock did post-COVID.
Yep.
The inavailability of goods and the wrecking of the supply chain that was caused by COVID that we just have gotten out of. We're starting to reshore some things. We're opening up supply chains to other sources. Again, if you go to IKEA, a lot of the stuff that used to be made in China from IKEA is now made in the Czech Republic, stuff like that, where they've shifted the supply chain around and dealt with the fact that China is an untrustworthy partner in a bunch of things. And so therefore they're moving out of it. We're moving out of there. Other companies are moving out of there. And countries are making rules about those kind of things. And we do have tariffs on China specifically. Obviously, they don't cover faux leather Bibles, but in general, they can't. It's just like an anti-product dumping aspect of things, and we're fixing the de minimis clause in the import structure, which allows anybody to have anything that's shipped to your home that's under $800 is not subject to tariffs or taxes. And so what you have is a lot of people who run these like bodegas and little shops all over the country just get $800 worth of keychains sent to their house, or $799 worth of keychains sent to their house, and they sell them in their store. They just have, because they're shipped to a house and stored in a garage instead of at a site or a warehouse, they get around this. So they're changing the law about that, which is fine. And as it should be. And that's why Trump's getting increasingly mad. It's why his buddy that's on Shark Tank is upset with this whole thing when he's saying, I do real business in China. What he's talking about is he makes a lot of junk, and a lot of that junk makes it into the country, sneaking in through the de minimis clause. He gets around tariffs because a lot of the stuff he sells is in these like small shops all over the place. He makes his money in huge amounts of volume. Anyways, so the point being is that Trump's story about moving an automated factory in the United States makes no sense at all if you're worried about jobs or raising the quality of living of Michiganders, for example, or anybody else for that matter. And nobody is asking him to explain that. The tariff thing, he can dazzle with BS and get away with it. This would be easier to shoot down, and I wish someone would. What is the point of a fully automated factory if the point is to increase the number of jobs and bring jobs back to the United States? It's absurd. Same thing. It's the Keystone XL pipeline of factories. 40,000 jobs. Yeah, all but 30 of them are temporary. Once it's built, they're just somebody walking along thumping it every so often. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. Boeing strike ended.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm. Man, these I gotta say, under Biden, these strikes, when they do happen, get dealt with quickly. Like when the businesses don't feel like they have, a sort of potential Reagan in the White House that can, that will back them. And what's up, Harriet?
Hi.
Hi, I'm Harriet Hagman from the wonderful state of Wyoming. You look great. I look like I came to an abrupt halt. That's good.
Everybody, Wyoming.
Everybody wants to be like Mike. All right. Oh yeah? How do you like them apples? Pow pow.
30 seconds, guys.
There he is. He's going to the cup. Thank you.
The corn was a big hit on my stream last time.
I understand. The green screen makes it very difficult to use any plant-based overlays. I find.
10 seconds.
Thank you. Or insects. There's a really great slug that I found at one point, but I can't use it because it's a caterpillar. He's green. It's so sad.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
So, some people are mocking Trump for falling asleep at his Michigan event while he's listening to people from different walks of life. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, as a man of the peephole, Donald Trump is a man of the peephole, and he will tell you that he knows people from all walks of life. He's met them and forgotten their names. He's forgotten more about people that he doesn't know than you'll ever remember about people you've never met, and he's proud of that fact. And so he has this round table set up by his folks. Now, of course, there's the usual people, like, for example, a black congressman from Florida, because they couldn't find one that supports them anywhere else. They had to fly him up to Michigan because black people. right? That's nothing says you get it better than that. I would think the only thing worse than that, probably when he was on Fox and Friends yesterday, doing kind of like I guess the cleanup after his Al Smith dinner, laid an egg, when he said he would have made a deal to end the Civil War with one of the four hosts of Fox and Friends is black, sitting right there. What deal would you have made? Because it would have made that guy vanish like Marty McFly. Okay, yeah. He was like, while he's talking about it, if Trump was, had been in a time machine and come back to this point to tell people that, his hands would start to disappear, and then his head and his shirt would change the date. Right. So when Trump is doing his little roundtable in Michigan, he has Byron Donalds, who is, again, in case of emergency, break glass, so that and I think really sometimes I feel like he brings Byron Donalds along as his outreach to black people. And other times I think he really does it just to make us all cringe when he says black really loud.
I don't like how he says it.
Oh my, I think it's second only currently to when he did his Univision town hall this week, and he kept saying the Hispanics love me to a room full of Hispanic undecided voters who are all there, like talking about them as if they're not the only crowd in front of him is really creepy, right? And then kind of almost yelling the word blacks when he's talking about it. Like, I feel it makes the skin on my back and my spine like wince all at once. I'm like, I get a little like, it's so uncomfortable. But so I can't decide if I think it's a coin flip what Byron Donalds is there for. The other person on the other side of him is a guy who just believes that Michigan's best days are ahead of him. Now, never mind that this guy is the head of his transition and the highest paid person on his campaign, and they don't really talk about that. But whatever, he's just a guy doing the guy thing. I'm here because I'm a guy and I care, right?
He's got a couple thoughts.
And then he has, I think my favorite one was the Muslim lady. Because it's Michigan, and the Muslim lady.
I don't think I saw the Muslim lady, Hal.
Well, I didn't see her either, because the version I watched, they kept the camera on Trump the entire time, as if these other folks didn't matter, or they didn't have another camera to shoot the other folks, which is probably more what happened. And that's why we all saw him doze off in the middle of it, because they never took the camera off of him. So he was so bored with what these people were telling him that he's just, and I'm sure it's chilly outside, so they made it toasty inside because he complains about the cold all the time, and nothing's going to make you doze off in a seat if you haven't slept and you've been gacked up on stimulants for days on end, like sitting at a table listening to stories you don't care about. And so the Muslim lady could be a great story, ladies and gentlemen. Is there a big Muslim population in Michigan? Absolutely. Are they an important voting bloc that you should reach out to? Sure. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Do you always have to weigh reaching out to the activist side of that group against the activist sides of other groups, and that creates this weird, especially in the Republican world, a balance? Like, for every Muslim you get to like you lose 3 maggots. You know what I mean? Like, there's a much higher trade-off in Republican world, especially, like, if you don't believe me, watch Tucker Carlson try to put a positive spin on rising, Latino or Hispanic support for Trump. Like, you can tell he just ate a rotten egg, that was covered in hot sauce. And, he gets like kind of sweaty and this sour look on his face because it's all positive, And so the Muslim lady that he brings out, would simply be someone who maybe is concerned about the situation in Gaza, our support for Israel. No, it can't be. And I'll tell you why. Because Trump is further all in on his support. Like Harris and Walz and Biden all support Israel. Trump supports Netanyahu. And that's an important distinction.
Yeah.
We have to be really clear about that. When Trump wants the attention of and the support of Netanyahu, he doesn't care about Israel in the abstract. And if Israel had a liberal leader, he'd frigging hate the place. So, and he does when they don't, when the minute Netanyahu didn't side with him or said, just called Biden to congratulate him on his win after he'd been certified, Trump was like, he's persona non grata to me. Then he feels like he's got an opportunity to be a war hawk with the guy. Then he starts rebuilding the bridge. And Netanyahu, in many ways, would rather have Trump in there because Trump will take all limits off. The irony is what he would do the opposite with Israel that he's doing with Ukraine. He would limit Ukraine's ability to fight back almost entirely, completely tie their hands, and completely untie any limits on Netanyahu. Trump supports Netanyahu. Harris supports Israel as a country, including the Muslim citizens of Israel, the large portion of Israelis who believe in a two-state solution, that kind of stuff. Okay, very important distinction. Now, does the Muslim lady that they interview on there, is that her point? Is that what she cares about, Johnny Million? Is that her primary point of concern, do you think? The one that they brought to this thing,
like
who could complicate the conversation, right? Who could bring up something that there's really, because of the Middle East being what it is, there really is, you can flip a coin, and if it landed on its side, on its edge, you'd go, phew, and because it's a Gordian knot of of who hit who first that's been going on for thousands of years, and it renews all the time, right? No, what this lady does is she runs an alternative health co-op that believes that she was an RFK Jr. supporter who believes that
there you go,
fluoride in our water system and endocrine disruptors in our food supply are causing all of our diseases, and Big Pharma is only in the business of getting us all hooked on drugs, and that you don't always need pain relief when you've got pain, and we need to teach our children this. And yeah, he manages to find the one person to sit at the table from the Muslim community whose concerns have nothing to do with being Muslim, but are more aligned with sovereign citizen, lunatic, fringe, Ron Paul, RFK Jr. followers.
Yeah, I want to drink raw milk and eat grasshoppers.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, as somebody who's drank raw milk in the past and eaten grasshoppers, pick your battles, folks. That's all I'm going to say. Pick your battles. Don't. And I wouldn't recommend doing both at the same time. It's just
actually trying to rinse that down.
Oh, can I? So, for the record, this is what Trump is drawing right now. Trump, and you can tell Trump is over it on all these fronts. He now brings up, you think I gotta do this? You think I like doing this stuff for the thing? You think I gotta have such a good life? I didn't have to be doing all this stuff with this stuff. I don't have to, the reason he keeps saying that is because he means it. He's over it. His internal polls are telling him he's going to lose again. The numbers might not be as high because of the lack of mail-in voting because of COVID that we had because voting became so easy during COVID that people, that everybody who could did. But it's still going to be enormous. Thanks to Rovember and a myriad of other issues and the 40% of people in the primary who voted for Nikki Haley, the number of people voting against Trump is enormous. And all of his attempts to scare people off of her by calling her a commie or a Marxist or any of that stuff is not landing with anyone, because everybody remembers that he when Biden added Harris to the ticket, Trump's big plan. Does anybody remember what the first strategy that came out of Trump world was to run against Harris and Biden back in the beginning? He was going to run to the left of them on crime. He was going to run to the left of them on criminal justice reform and expunging people's criminal records and all that kind of stuff. They were going to use this idea that Biden crafted the crime bill, and she was an AG and a DA who was really hard on people, and he was going to squeak by and grow a big bunch of black voters in all these big cities, and that was going to be his strategy. Now, he gave that up very early, but not before they went out and did several things to try and further that idea, not the least of which was sort of the Kim Kardashian push. Reminding everybody that he was working on criminal justice reform with Kim Kardashian. Now, the problem he obviously has is that criminal justice reform is the only thing he thinks of when he looks at black people. And the reason...
It just comes right out. It's like, well, you all are criminals here. Black people like me because I'm a criminal.
Yeah, because I got a mugshot and we did criminal justice reform. That's a great black thing. Like, it's gross. It's he has no idea. Well, but it's so awful. It's just so, like, every time he does it, it's hideous. And so ultimately, that strategy was doomed to fail. Even if his staff had managed him and made him go through that, and he had kept his language good, it still wasn't going to work. It was a bad strategy to start with, but he gave up on it early, and it never got a chance, to really get off the ground because it was going to fail anyways. And for the record, we got to take a break again. The show is just zipping by today, Johnny. I think it's just because I missed you. I would like to say for the record, and this is a good reminder for people, the incarceration rate in the United States of America did not go up because of the crime bill. The crime bill is not responsible for the number of people who were incarcerated in state and federal penitentiaries going up. The reason that went up was twofold. VICAP, the violent offender database that they put forward, and fingerprint technology going nationwide in the mid to late 90s. That's why. You could no longer Ted Bundy your way across the country. That's what happened. It wasn't because of 3 strikes in California. It wasn't because of the crime bill, tightening, how much people would go to jail for, because people were still getting their stuff punted on the state level for years after that. What did it was fingerprints. You didn't have to go into a little card file anymore and see if that person had committed a crime and left a fingerprint in your jurisdiction. You could now go online and check it against everybody else. And they suddenly discovered, wow, these guys, largely guys, drive across state lines doing this stuff all the time. And then DNA says, hold my beer, and jacks the number up even further. That's what happened. It's 100% what happened. It's not even a question. It's not like the crime bill, like it had some funding for that stuff. But the idea that people would I think, since Ted Bundy moved around, the federal government should have had to work harder to find him in Florida. That's the argument against it. That's the argument against the crime bill. It's absurd. And so Trump's people knew this. Plus, he wants the death penalty for drug dealers after a 2-hour trial. So, again, all of his sales pitches are doomed to fail. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. Now with 100% more Johnny Million. Patreon.com/Hal Sparks. My name is Cuban Pete. I'm the kick of the rumba beat. When I play the maracas, they go boom, chicka, boom, chicka, boom. I used to have that. Look, buddy, you can play at that game. Hot dog! Johnny's been messing around with tech. The real one you got to go through, and you could probably do this. You could do this one better than I can because you can do it with one change. Jamie, put that thing up on the big screen where that shows Johnny Million how to look like he's got a pituitary disorder caused by steroid use.
Can you see what the name of that one is?
And suppositories. It's called Bald Boss. But you're already bald, so I think you could just use one or the other. But that would work great. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah.
Keeps my glasses on.
Yeah.
And I've got a King's X tattoo on my forehead.
Right. That's not bad. Thank you. Coming back soon. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, everybody. Please hit that like, share the show, and we've got some super chats. Do we not, Johnny Million? Can you see those? I can't see them on my setup over here.
We got some, yeah.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back. Mano Shevitz, I think the most embarrassing.
John P with a super chat. We got Hal Vickery with a super chat.
Thank you, Hal Vickery.
Hal gave a bunch of, she's a member now. Maggie Cat's a member. Just Julie's a member. Bald Thanos.
We got some new members and people handing out memberships. Yeah, you can be. One of the ways you can support the show is become a member on YouTube. That gives us consistent support, which is always the hallmark of growth, ladies and gentlemen. Also, subscribing helps. Infotainmentwars.com. Infotainmentwars.com. We don't need the documents. We have everything memorized. By the way, the Infowars auction, Johnny Million, is happening. And I need the link. I gotta. I want the desk. I think when people know this, I mean, obviously, there's a bunch of stuff that people will get, electronic equipment and broadcasting equipment and that kind of stuff. But I want that big dumb gamer desk that is an absurd, embarrassing piece of furniture. Oh yeah. And what my favorite thing about Alex Jones's desk is, besides the thought of him saying goodbye to it, like weeping as it's carted away, is that he's got these giant screens, LED walls behind him with these graphics on them. He's got this huge, it's a pretty big studio. I've been in it. Back in the day, my buddy Richard Hunter and I were on his show, and we made miracles happen.
Ate all the chocolate cake?
Yeah, he told the chocolate cake story, which proves that he's completely full of crap. But during, not just him saying goodbye to it, but the fact that with all this technology around him, the desk is still covered in just printed out pieces of paper, and they have an overhead shot they always show of his of the paper, and he's pointing to it like every day he's doing one of these like serial killer murder boards, out of fresh news stories, because his brain's just operating on a 7th level idea. It's stupid. It's so stupid. And I have to say, I'm very excited at the idea that his whole system's going to get liquidated, and the name is going to go. There are people who are trying to buy the website Infowars.com and the site around it, which they're going to use to basically undermine everything he said, like counter program all of his BS over the years. Because I got to say, kids, and by the way, in the next hour, Boston Brian is joining us. Because Philip Bittner is, I think, arriving in the States. He might be in England right now, but he's traveling to the States because he's coming into the country to vote in person. KJ Dog just said, Doglove said, I voted. Who in the chat room has voted, by the way, already? Let me know. Very excited, and we're very proud of you. In the meantime, we have been under this odd cloak of BS, low-res conspiracy theories for the better part of a decade and a half now. It was always around. We always had these, we didn't land on the moon, the earth is flat, morons. Have been around for a long time. But about 15 years ago, they suddenly got a huge infusion of cash. And by the way, the number of people saying they voted already
So many
is
voters.
blowing up.
Overflowing.
It's so great. I'm so proud of you guys. It warms my heart. And a good sign. And I think a great sign of things to come. But we have been, ever since the Russians, the Chinese specifically recognized that this was an easy way to manipulate people. They have been flooding the airwaves, the digital airwaves, with BS conspiracy theories about everything. Again, from fluoride to the flat Earth to the fact that we didn't, the idea that we didn't land on the moon or any of that stuff. Right? They gave all those things a boost. Now, we have always been, because we believe in the First Amendment in this country, and I've often said, and I will stand by this, that automatic weapons are to the Second Amendment what child porn is to the First. And feel free to at me about that. But the First Amendment, for those of you that haven't been paying attention for the last 2,000 plus years, was an act by the founding fathers to nullify the first 5 commandments. There are 5 sections of the First Amendment, specifically, protecting certain rights. And they get rid of thou shalt have no other gods before me, thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain, honor thy father and mother, free speech, free association, freedom of religion. The first 5 are just gone. And there's 5 segments, like it's as if the founding fathers were specifically going, no thank you, to full on half of the 10 commandments. And never mind the fact that there are I forget how many. There's 613 commandments in the Old Testament. There's 10, wow. There's a top 10 list. There's 2 sets of 10 commandments. Remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. There's
15 commandments.
Pardon?
Weren't there 15 commandments?
Yes, right. Oi, 10 commandments for all to obey. Right. So one of the commandments, for example, is in Deuteronomy, I believe, which is against, which says every 7 years you forgive everyone's debts. That's it. If somebody hasn't paid back their debt in 7 years, you forgive their debt. And it's on you, buddy. Don't loan them money anymore. 7 years, that's it, right? Do you think Republicans are for that commandment, for example? Okay. Never mind the fact that the last commandment, which, made the top 10, and a lot of people don't often understand why, is thou shalt not covet, is basically Trump's entire business model. It's not even envy or greed. It's coveting. It's not that I want stuff. I want that guy's stuff. I don't want a car like that. I want their car. I don't want a wife like that. I don't want a girlfriend, a wife, or a mate like that. I want her specifically. I want to take that from someone else. That's coveting. That's the difference between coveting and envy, for example. And that's why it's a sin versus just envy, which is a mistake. Okay, it's a bad turn of character, but it's not actually one of the mortal sins. And Trump's entire character is based on violating all of the 10 commandments right now. He bears false witness. He steals and gets away with it. He does not pay his fair share in taxes, or he pretends he steals from charities. He can't even run a charity in New York State anymore because of this. His sons can't do it anymore. He certainly is for killing. He hasn't done it yet that we know of. Never mind the helicopter ride back from the Taj Mahal to New Jersey that killed a couple of his business partners a long time ago. Before that happened. Who knows? But insofar as we know, he hasn't killed anybody, but he sure is for it. I mean, he ordered the strike on Soleimani, when Soleimani was just driving from one place to the airport. He wasn't in the process of killing someone. He wasn't in the process of planning something. As a matter of fact, he was partnering with another country So at that point, literally just over energy, not even over weapons and the like. So and certainly like the first 5, like he swooped in and took his father's business over and took basically power of attorney as his father's health was failing and stole it from his siblings. He ran it into the ground. He thinks honoring them is talking them up, but largely because he's trying to make this genetic case for himself. But there is only one commandment in Trump world that exists. Thou shalt not turn. Loyalty above all. If you don't support Trump, you're done. And Matt Drudge has turned on Trump. We now know that Mitch McConnell and all these other folks doing it. If they would just be more vocal, we wouldn't even be dealing with this right now. It's House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. We'll be back after the news with our dear friend Boston Brian joining us. Hang in there.
I love him. All right, I've got to go do some cat maintenance.
Understood. She got to get her paws rotated. Okay, hold on. I'll get into two guests. I'm going to put this in here, and we'll wait for Boston Brian. Should be popping in here any second now. There he is. There he is. My friend. My brother. Ha-ha. Based and put. There you go. And I think he's in here too. And then I think I might have to filter you. There he is. And boink. There we go. Excellent. Nice. Excellent
Let's
shirt.
Go. Let's
effing go. Okay.
Go. I know one person in this race that's not entirely exhausted to the point of dropping dead on the spot in that.
Oh my God. Dude, like he is, and again, I think part of it's physical exhaustion. I think a big part of it is emotional exhaustion. Yeah, Kamala. I think a big part of it is emotional exhaustion. I think he's just stopped giving a crap.
Well, he's never wanted to do it in the first place.
True. Yes. And we'll save some of this. Yeah. We'll save some of this for the show, but yeah. Hold on a second. I'm going to do this real quick.
I just heard myself back, so I'm going to talk for a second to make sure I'm not hearing myself back anymore.
Okay.
So,
check. There you go. You're all good?
Sounds
Excellent.
good.
Oh, hold on one second. I don't know why this is in here. Hold on. We'll do Phil, and then I thought I put you on here, but I'll check. Oh, I did the news part of it. I haven't done that part yet. So I've got to add your...
It's been a while. I feel like it's been a while.
I know. I've missed you.
It's mutual.
Yeah, good man.
I'll be out in the West Coast the end of November for my birthday. I don't know where you'll be, what house
What's
you'll
your
be
birthday?
at, or what state you'll be in. But
what
November
day's your birthday?
25th.
The 20...
So it's on Thanksgiving every 6 or 7 years or something like that.
Yeah. So the 22nd and 3rd, we're at the Virgin. We're playing the Virgin Hotel near Halen is, and I'm probably going to grab my kid and bring him back here for Thanksgiving. I think we got to work out the travel on the beginning of the week or the end of the week. But I will be around some. I will find you, no matter what.
Whatever works. And it'd be a pleasure to meet your son. I'm sure he's a fine young man.
He is, and all of his teachers love him.
Where's Johnny? Scooping the poop?
Yeah, he's poop scooping right now.
All right, Radio
Yeah.
Brian. Radio Brian.
Yeah, Radio Brian. Don't do it.
I mean, there's so much hell. There's so much been going on. You cannot, I cannot stop to record. I'll wait till we get on the show. I'll wait till we get on.
There he is.
What's up, Johnny?
I heard all that.
How are you, buddy?
Excellent.
How you doing, my man?
I'm all right, you
Gotta
handsome
make
devil.
some room on my lap here for you. Are you slimming down?
Am I? Honestly, I wouldn't doubt if I have. I haven't been on a scale in a long time, but following this election as closely as I have to for, both Midas Touch and myself and YouTube and others, it does take a toll. And especially now that, old Crappy Pants has decided to ramp up his appearances to his detriment, might I add. it's made it a lot. So I do have a tea time right after this show, so I'm taking the afternoon to kind of decompress and get back out there and take a few swings.
This is probably more for the air, but like seeing a Trump sign right now,
Hi, Chicago.
make me go like, hey, you know what I'm gonna do? Vote for a lunatic.
Yeah.
I just drew Trump's face on a couple golf balls.
Yeah, Johnny, give me a check, will you?
Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2.
Good. Looking good. Okay, cool.
Cool.
Yep. Boston Bride's coming in hot as a pistol, so I wanted to make sure it evened out so we're all...
You're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not when I was being so charming.
Video streaming at halsparks.com.
I don't care for you if it'll keep your sludge you're troweling out.
Puss-faced little pimp-stick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
Welcome back. I feel there is you know how Obi-Wan when Alderaan
who's that?
Quit.
Hal, who's that?
That's
I don't know if this world can handle two
lead-in.
pieces.
I'm doing an intro for him.
Well, hurry up! I want to talk to him.
Anal, just hang out, man. We'll talk in a second. That's Ficus's brother, Anal. Hey there, Anal. Anal. We're together. Ficus and Anal, man. We're hanging out. We're doing our thing. So listen here. There have been there's so much going on in the news, especially around Trump when he has his freakouts and his fails, that I know I can feel across the Kamalaverse, the Kamalaverse, that my dear friend Boston Brian, like I could feel the same cringe I feel at certain moments. When we both see the same moment, I know we are reacting very similarly. It's incredible. Boston Brian joining us on the air right now. Yes. Lately. Yeah. So, what have been your top 3 moments over the last little bit that are just stuck that keep coming up for you or that have just happened? Because it's hard to keep. There's so many.
Well, I mean, I cover it all. So I try to watch every single piece of whatever he says, whether it's an interview, a town hall, a rally, whatever it is. I want to be there to see what comes out of the guy's mouth, so I can call it out, so I can correct it, so I can point out the hypocrisy of it all, whatever it may be. But I mean, what sticks out really to me, and I think should stick out to people that actually, are somewhat educated in finances and economics, the sit down that he had with John Micklethwaite, the editor-in-chief at Bloomberg at the Chicago Economics Club.
Oh my God!
Was brutal. I mean, when you have somebody sitting down on the stage with a former president saying that simple mathematics, sir, as simple as that statement is, but to have him have to say, listen, you put tariffs and all of this, you're putting a 20% tariff here. In this interview, Donald Trump said something about a 2,000% tariff or 1,000, but it was off the rails. And then the guy was like, listen, do you understand that what this will do? This will just be passed along to the American consumer. It's simple mathematics. And Donald Trump said no. You know what I mean? It's just he doesn't get it. And then there was another point in time where he said,
"You was in that crowd, Brian? Like people were cheering him on with
all set up
really
people.
Ignorant now. Go."
I think it was all set up people. There's no way it wasn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no way that educated people that were there for just to hear his financial plan and the economic side of his policies or lack thereof. Could be sitting there cheering and clapping for the things he was saying. I mean, when the guy, John Micklethwaite, actually said you could be causing and creating one of the largest trade wars in this country's history. Is that something you have to worry about? Donald Trump said flat out no. You know what I mean? And it's straight denial. But I mean, there's been so many moments where, I mean, like you said earlier, the time, he's fallen asleep at one of his recent appearances. It all blends together at some point. It just, his PBD podcast where he was on the Patrick Bet-David podcast.
Oh my God!
He looked absolutely awful. He was you could barely hear. He's talking really muffled. cold and slow. And the funny thing is, the hypocrisy of it all is he's looking at a picture of Obama trying to comment on how Obama has aged as he's sitting there like dripping orange goo, barely able to speak. So there's been so many moments. He did the Dan Bongino interview that he had. He sounded and looked like absolute dog poo poo. I mean, he just he's what he's doing is he's trying to be at more places. His team wants him to be everywhere, right? And everywhere he goes, he makes it worse. And then all it's doing in the end is making him exhausted. All it's doing is sapping the energy right out of him. And it's not getting their campaign anywhere. But that being said, this election, is embarrassing as it is to say, is still far too close to call. There's no a reality in which any of our supporters, Kamala supporters, Democratic supporters could say that we have this in the bag. It's just not a reality that we can say. But we have to keep getting out there, and people that haven't voted, and thanks to everybody that has voted in the chat. But if you haven't, get out there and get your vote cast, please. If you have people in your family that haven't voted, get them out there. It's good to see that the numbers are up. Anytime the numbers are up in an election, it tends to favor the Democrats. So, there's lots of people trying to say, look at these numbers, this is what this means compared to 2020 and 2016. I tend to block out all that noise and just vote. That's all you can do. What I mean? So
especially and if you vote now and you bank your vote, it's amazing how the anxiety really does shave off for a lot of folks, like their nervousness, because they feel like, okay, I did my part and it's done and I can count on it and it's banked and we're it's going to be counted and that you were able to vote. So there's all these, like, because the Republicans have done such a systematic attack on voting for such a long time, that there's a lot of secondary anxiety that I think a lot of people carry around beyond just getting your vote in and making sure you filled it out and it's proper and you didn't have your own version of a hanging Chad, or you went outside the bubble and it didn't scan right, all the stuff that, that people think, right, that people worry about, but also that you are registered and your registration showed up. When you show up at the polls or the place where you can drop it off and they recognize, oh yeah, there you are, we checked you off. There's all that weight that you may not even realize you're carrying around goes away. You don't have to worry about whether your vote's going to get counted or whether you've been kicked off the rolls or any of that stuff. All that stress goes away if you just go bank your vote.
Yeah, I mean, amen to all that. But it's still crazy to me that, Donald Trump's he's coming off one of the weirdest, wildest, craziest, most pathetic and detrimental campaign weeks of campaigning in a presidential campaign that I've ever seen in my life. No appearance that he had was like, oh, he might even still have it just a little bit. Every appearance no matter what he's talking about. In the economics thing, he's sitting in the chair like this, like hunched over. He looks like very, very small in the chair. You were playing.
I thought about that. The reporter looks like professional kickback with his legs crossed. And I was like, I don't know if I've ever seen Trump cross his legs. Can he not?
I haven't seen a man that uncomfortable.
But he gleeks if that happens. It'll shoot right out his pants leg.
But Hal, you were even showing a clip of him on Fox, the morning people.
Yeah.
And he's the same size as Ainsley Earhart. I was commenting in the chat, like, look at him. He's the same exact size as Ainsley Earhart.
It's so weird. And it's like he's shrinking. He's shrinking like an old person shrinks. That's what old people do. They shrink, especially if they're on Ozempic. This is and again, I think on a certain level he knows he has to get reelected or he's screwed, from a legal standpoint, that his only protection comes from that. I think the same thing is true of Elon Musk. I think when Elon Musk says...
But he doesn't want to. That's the problem. Right. That's the thing that he's battling with. He needs to get elected to save his butt, but he doesn't want the job because he knows the stress and the rigmarole that comes along with it. He actually has to do some work.
Want the job.
You know what I mean? So he's like he's screwed either way, kind of. But he'd rather have the power.
That's what Project 2025 was all about. It's a paint by numbers IKEA manual for a right-wing authoritarian government. So you can just assume he just go, he can come in, go, what page are we on today? Of the 900. We're on page 37. Okay, we'll do 3 pages a day. Well, in the first year, I'll destroy the entire country and I'll golf the rest of the term or whatever until I'm president, until I die, right? So he'll just go, he'll tear 3 pages out of 2025, hand it over to the staff that's run by other 2025 people, and go, just make that happen. I don't really care. And go back to golfing.
Just remember, though, he's doing this. He's ramped up his campaign appearances, and he's doing all these things without being able to golf, too. So he doesn't even have his, normal stress relief that he would, shooting around in the golf cart and driving on the greens like you're not supposed to be doing. He gets a kick out of that, and it probably gives him a little relaxation. He doesn't have that anymore because of his wacky supporters in the shots that they've been trying to take at him. You know what I mean? So
yes,
there's a lot of things going on here where he's just. He was struggling so hard the other night to read the jokes at the what was it? The Al what's the last name? I forget the. Yeah, that one. He's sitting there. He's got his finger on the page, and he never looked up to the crowd once, and he still couldn't do it. And it's geez, you know what I mean?
And the worst one, and we got to take a break. Our guest today is Boston Brian with us for this hour, and Johnny Million's over there. He'll be farming questions in case you guys have any for Boston Brian or myself, or even for Johnny, quite frankly, because the King's X show was amazing, and he had a great time. I have that guy. I have that one too. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide. There's a podcast, Hal Sparks Podcast, Mega Worldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast. We'll be back.
Now it makes me a little nervous, Brian.
That's a javelin missile.
Sure it is. Your Honor.
Didn't see that one coming, Johnny. Not gonna lie. I just didn't see that one coming. All right, sorry.
Hold on. That's okay.
Thank God radio can't see.
Yeah.
Look what I got early.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Let's go. They could have a date.
Yeah. Fighting for freedom. Freedom fighting toys with the fighting for freedom. Oh, yeah.
Hal and I get together, and people are going to walk in, and we'll be on the floor playing with our toys.
Yeah. Whee! It's over. Ding dong, the Donald's done. The Donald's done, and the dumb be dumb.
Seriously, though. Good point, though, Hal. Can we all just, for a second, remember the joy and elation that was felt by all and celebrated in the streets in 2020 when Joe Biden was announced as the winner of the election? Can we just for a second picture how much better it's going to feel this time, and how much I don't know how much more impactful it is. Last time we thought we were going to get rid of them. Chances we just didn't, unfortunately. This time, this is the moment, right? This is the moment. He doesn't there's nothing left in the tank. It's now or never. That's it.
He's going to scream and complain and yell, point fingers about cheating, and it's going to be so weak.
Oh, they're already setting it up. The whole poly market bullcrap. Like I said, been stringing his people along the whole time with we're up 1 billion points in the polls. Every time I get indicted, we go up in the polls. Every poll says we're doing well. This is all setting his people up. I have a Midas Touch video coming out. And in that video, I clipped something he played on the Jumbotron at one of his rallies, and he was basically coming straight out and saying, once again, that same line, Democrats, all they do is cheat. All they're good at is cheating.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Chi-Town.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Welcome back. We were just talking during the break that Donald Trump has effectively been, along with his, I don't know, support structure. It used to be that he had kind of a sycophantic cult-like group that ran his administration and his business stuff around him in the campaign, sort of like a mega church has its junior pastors and other people like that. True believers who believe that, Joel Osteen is the man. And if they get one day, they'll branch off and have their own Crystal Cathedral or whatever, right? But then there's that part where you get into the Pat Robertson 700 Club Jim Baker territory where everybody knows you're nuts and they can't broom you because it's your network. So they just kind of got to wait until you expire. And you can see it in their eyes during the broadcast. I don't know if anybody watched any of the final days of Pat Robertson or saw any of his shows when he looked like Vincent D'Onofrio took his skin off, in Men in Black and laid it on a chair, and he would have he'd have that giggly story. Come on, we got it. These evil doers, he would do that, and he was saying the same thing.
Hell, I seem to remember some historical figure that also, towards the end of his life, had a sheik, and then also seemed to have
Sure.
just a very loss of all his cognitive abilities and lost himself in a bunker, and you know how that story goes.
Oh yeah, was a big fan of meth, which I believe the ingredients are found in certain forms of Sudafed, which is why you can't buy the green version of it in the United States.
Commanding fake armies, when he's telling his generals to move the 7th Army here, and the generals are like, sir, we lost the 7th Army about a month ago.
Right.
Yeah, that's not going to fly. So they just pretty much appeased him. There's a lot of movies, there's a lot of documentaries that you can watch to back up this, where they knew he was out of his mind. They knew nothing the guy was saying was true or able to be accomplished. Yet nobody had the gall or the wherewithal to speak up and develop.
Well, that goes to that explains Nikki Haley. That explains the Nikki Haley, I'm throwing my support behind Donald Trump, and then basically vanishing. Because that's what people have to do just to save their own lives. Because they used to be afraid, I think, when you're talking about that period around Adolf, which, by the way, can I just remind you that but for a turn of the alphabet, we would have been singing Adolf the Red-Nosed Reindeer if his mother had just chosen a slightly different name. But which is an entirely different story, and is just the ending is terrible. But baked reindeer, just sad. Anyways, point being that those people were still afraid of him. And they were afraid that there were close loyalists because of the ratcheting up of the war at that time, that he still had, even though he was obviously slipping and losing his mind, Hitler had the ability to marshal loyalists among him that would carry out his awful on his behalf.
Chief among them, the SS. The reason that people were really frightened is because they still had the uber fanatics of the SS, that
Which
would literally, at whatever Hitler would say at a moment's notice, take out whoever it may be for whatever reason that he says.
Which would be like the Proud Boys, as far as the organization of the campaign in that regard, that they had an organized group. Unfortunately for Trump, and why he wants to release all these political prisoners, is because he's really, when he says that, I want to be abundantly clear about the Jan 6 stuff, because he's been trying to rewrite the history on that lately too.
Oh, hey.
But when he says we've got political prisoners and these people and the way they've been treated is terrible, and you have people who weren't even there on the day being, persecuted, and he's not talking about the people who were around Ashley Babbitt, who, helped her get into a position where she ended up meeting her maker that day, where she, by the way, punched another dude in the face so she could be first through the window. And if she hadn't, that guy is the guy we would be talking about instead of her. But when Trump is talking about this, he's talking about Enrique Tarrio, the guy who heads the Proud Boys, who was arrested. Mm-hmm. That's who he's talking about. When he's saying there are political prisoners that need to be, pardoned and released, he's talking about the leadership structure of the Proud Boys. He doesn't mean these goons that came to the Capitol, who are from the the Gravy Seals, wearing their their flak vests and all that kind of stuff, walking around with bear spray. He means the people who are coordinating the people that got there and the actual forces, the group that came up into the Capitol in a line, all dressed in military gear.
You mean the same people where they have the text messages of them setting up this whole thing from start to finish with plans of doing far worse things with weapons back at the hotel ready to go? Those people you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah, once they took the Capitol, once they took the Capitol, the plan was to start funneling the weapons they had nearby into the surrounding area because they knew they would have control over certain entrances, and then they would start bringing the guns in. So
it's really lucky that the old the old lynching store was open and they could buy their gallows. Thank God that store was just
yeah. I think that was the Clorn gallows from IKEA. You know, it comes up in 2
easy to put together, really lightweight.
I would have gone with the glass doors myself, but point being, that's who he's talking about. Just to be abundantly clear, when he's talking about freeing people that are political prisoners and all that garbage, what he means is Enrique Tarrio and the guys from the Proud Boys who are in jail for organizing all this stuff. And this week, we got this big dump of stuff from Jack Smith. And, Tanya Chutkin releases all this stuff. And it was how they paid to get everybody there. The buses from Turning Point USA. And it was $3 million spent, including money from Ginny Thomas that she organized. Bus loads of people. They were busing these folks in for all this story. By the way, it's interesting that they knew this stuff was coming out. A story that they were busing people in for the Jan 6 rally specifically.
Isn't that the deep state? Now, wouldn't that be the most the clear thing to point to as a deep state? Yes. The wife of a fucking. Excuse me.
Now he did it.
He got it. Chicago, baby.
Sorry, you can't get me fight up. I do apologize.
I know. He got the Boston.
The wife of the Supreme Court justice setting up buses to have people shipped into the Capitol for an insurrection. I mean, is that not the deep state?
It is the deepest state there is, because you have not only do you have the ability to coordinate and do it, but you have the support structure to make sure that they don't get in trouble later, right? That
Can I say that now?
No, you cannot say that now. Johnny Million, no. You guys. You each have one strike. If I do it, we're doomed. So I've got a little over a half hour left in the show, and no one's allowed to trigger me to swear until precisely noon my time. Or 11 o'clock my time. So let's the one thing I want to address is that there's been a couple of things where we're getting people in the Discord are sending you messages. I'm just saying. I'll show you what I mean in just one moment. But this is if I may, I'll just leave this up.
I even said it.
I know, yeah, it was a good, solid one. It was a powerful one.
No, I mean, before, I even said, listen, I'm on the radio. Before we went on, I said, I reminded myself I was on the radio, and it still just didn't
work.
Sorry.
Well, here's the thing, and this kind of speaks to what we were talking about earlier, is like how much stuff is out there that you kind of feel like, the volume is so high. Yesterday, all right, I enjoy covering the Trump rallies and I don't even call them rallies anymore. They're just kind of like cult gatherings. I wouldn't call the Jonestown gathering where they were, they drank Kool-Aid the first time. You're right. Before it was poisoned. In Jonestown, they drank Kool-Aid multiple times. They really did. They did it several times. And then the last time, obviously, was the kicker, But that's how you get people to feel comfortable doing it in the first place, right? That's how you trick them into doing it.
Right. Yeah.
And right. And so
boil the frog.
Right. Exactly.
Slowly.
So these are very much boil the frog rallies, but a lot of the frogs have jumped. You will notice that with the Haley voters, for example, those are the frogs that jumped.
Now it's all the dumbest people. Now it's the dumb frogs and the frogs that just are unable to get out of the pot because of disabilities.
Who just can't wait to be frog soup for the dear leader or whatever, which is kind of crucial. But as in the volume of stuff that's coming, and again, we cover these things, these gaggles that he's having that aren't quite rallies, and they get sadder and slower. And at times angrier, but lamer at the same time. The motivation on them is clearly flagging. He has to bring along like stunt
about the lack of people going to these things. There was actually, I think she was actually on site. She was at the place, and she was like, she even asked the people that set up the event, "Is there a reason why there's not that many people in here? Is it a security issue? Is there, what is there a reason for it?" And they said, "No, it just that's how many people there were." And she finally, that's the first time that I've seen really, people on YouTube and, people like you and me point out the lack of people going to these things. It's the first time I've really seen a mainstream media, anchor say something about like, listen, there's a lot of room here.
Yes.
And if you look at Kamala Harris's rallies and her events, those things are packed.
Yeah. You've been talking about it. Johnny and I've been talking about it for a while. I talk about it on my live stream all the time. The Midas Touch guys talk about it. You can tell, especially if you've gone to one of these things, you can tell it's light, man. And the numbers he's giving, I swear to God, if he could just tamp them down a little
You're so
bit,
right. You're so right, dude. If he could just not exaggerate them,
so much. The real problem he has is that no number will ever be big enough.
Right. He went from 101 to 107,000 in one day. I listened to one appearance that he had, and he said there was 101,000 at Butler, and then the next day he said there was 107,000 at Butler, and it's like, well, I mean, which like
first
did
of all,
101? Like, where'd the one come from? I even called that out in a video. I'm like, where did the 1,000? Where's the extra 1,000?
Because 100,000 sounds like BS. 100,001 sounds like it's specific, and therefore it's
real
got
count.
to be true.
Right.
But let's be abundantly clear. The number was closer to 21,500 people was the estimated number. The whole area they had cordoned off, where from the original place, which is the exact same area they had, max, if you stacked people in there like sardines, you could fit about 30,000 people in there, and it wasn't full.
Right.
Once you
and
get
the whole
past,
back was wide. I mean, it was
wide
empty.
open.
Half of it
Yeah.
pretty much was empty to the back. You could tell they expected a lot more people.
Yes, and Trump says there were people as far as the eye could see, which just tells me that his eyesight is failing. That's all it means.
Or the lights in his face. He couldn't see anything anyway. You know how when you're on stage you can't really see.
Yeah.
Anyway?
Oh yeah, and he used that as an excuse. But we got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. There's so much more going on. We're never going to cover all of it. We're going to try. And I'm going to let's see if I can make it through without swearing. If I do, I win a special gift. Johnny busted it first. Johnny.
He said I didn't even know what I said wasn't allowed.
He said GD. That's nothing. Come on.
Oh, it is something, Mister. Next thing you're going to tell me the 10 Commandments shouldn't be in front of every state building.
Excuse me, it's the 300 and something commandments.
It's 316. It's 613. Yeah, sorry.
Oh hell, I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry, brother.
It's all right. It happens. Let's see.
Can't take me anywhere, dude. Just wasn't really built for radio, I guess. I don't know.
I do have a couple of decent questions from chat.
Excellent.
One is for all three of us, and then one is for Brian.
Excellent. Yeah, there are 613 commandments in the Old Testament. There are only there are two sets of 10 that are in that vary Deuteronomy to Leviticus. There you go. Oh, there you go. Kamala and Coach. Nice. Yeah.
I do have to say, though, is Daphne Farmer in the chat? Because I think she's one of the sparklers. She sent me all this stuff, which is just incredibly nice of her to do. Even this. She sent me a nice
Daphne Farmer is fantastic.
Flag, which is, I believe, I haven't even opened it yet, but I believe it's the U.S. and the Ukrainian flag together. If I don't.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, just really, really thoughtful gifts. The Javelin missile is hilarious to me. So that's pretty much my favorite. I might just throw that in my bed and sleep with that.
Yeah. Like Trump's favorite chart.
Anyway, I just wanted to say thank you to her if she's listening. Or him, sorry. I got the card. I'm an idiot. But it was very thoughtful, very nice, very nice.
Right. So, but I don't know why this isn't more widely talked. Thank you. I don't know why this isn't more widely talked about. That the founding fathers literally got rid of the first five. It's thou shalt have no other gods before me, no idols. You can't take the Lord's name in vain. Keep the Sabbath holy and honor your father and mother. Between free association, freedom of speech, and freedom of religion,
I'm gonna have to jump on GarageBand and start sawing something together. This is the Hal Sparks Show. Wow, and a guitar note, and then progressive, and all. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Hey, Hal, did you mean something like this?
This is the Hal Sparks Show. Wow, and a guitar note, and then progressive, and all. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Your line dog says
The Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Welcome back. So, ladies and gentlemen, Boston Brian is waving his Kamala flag and all of his goodies. We're very excited. It's going to happen. Let me tell you, folks, I'm going to do a 24-hour stream on election night like I did last time, noon to noon. I'm going to stay up with you guys.
Just taking up the whole internet.
That's right. I mean, I filled it up anyways. Look, what can I say? I have the greatest live stream in the history of live streams. And everyone is the best one until the next one. And it's the only place people can see Hal Sparks like nobody else's Hal Sparks is. And until talking about yourself in the third person doesn't work on a segment of the populace, I'm going to keep doing that because apparently that's how Trump made it. And if idiots can do it, so can I. I've often said that anything, ladies and gentlemen, dream big, because anything you think, I want to try that, some idiot has been doing it for 3 years. So give yourself a break, right? Especially when it comes to Trump. I swear to God, I have found him to be incredibly inspirational in a, I can do that kind of a way. And I think that, most of us, I've often said that I think if you're a budding screenwriter, watching a great movie might teach you structure, but watching bad movies will make you write.
Yes.
It will make it.
As soon as he was elected, everybody in the United States was just like, "Oh, I can become president now."
Well, that was the whole thing with George W. Bush. With George W. Bush, we went from "This is America where anyone can be president" to "This is America where anybody can be president," right? It was like a depressing version of that very same statement. It was all, in the intonation.
Well,
now,
Donald Trump was literally the guy at the end of the bar that has been there every day for the last 20 years with these radical ideas and thoughts against the government, and somehow he just had more money given to him by his father. He was more prominent. The Apprentice kind of put him out there as this great businessman, the successful businessman who has the longest list of failures I've ever seen in my life for business ventures. The 1,500 LLCs and shell companies that he has to try to keep his entity afloat. The backdoor dealings he's had with Deutsche Bank and the whole 9 yards. It's ridiculous that that guy somehow captured enough of the American populace to vote for him to become president of the United States of America.
But in many ways, we've talked about how it's kind of been the perfect storm, and he was, he's Putin's perfect puppet in that regard, because like everything they've been doing to attack our system, he's the perfect guy to carry that across the finish line. Now, he wasn't supposed to win in 2016, and that's on us. Because, again, Roe was not lost in 2022. Roe was lost in 2016. And the folks that stayed home and didn't vote and went, does it really matter? Lesser of two evils. I don't like Hillary. All those folks, those are the folks that gave us Donald Trump, not all the Republicans, because he lost by 3 million votes and he won the Electoral College. And he only won the Electoral College because folks on our side of the aisle who allegedly share our values stayed home or voted for Jill Stein or didn't vote for president, left the top line blank. That's what did it. And am I vote shaming? Yeah, damn right I am. And I will keep doing that until people recognize the damage that they did. So, Johnny Million, I know you have some questions, and I want to get to them because I will get onto another tear with our dear friend Boston Brian.
Yeah, this one is from AD. A question for all three of us. How many red states do you think Kamala will flip? Goodness.
Oh, you okay? How many will flip in what?
In the election.
How many red states do you think Kamala will flip in the election?
I think there's a very strong chance that Florida flips. I think there's it depends on what your feelings about Georgia are. Pennsylvania's not red though.
I'm not much of a predictor, but there has been really good signs down in Florida where you've seen even in the villages, which is typically a conservative stronghold for old Nazis and just ridiculously racist individuals. But you've seen congregations of in rallies or cookouts or whatever you want to call them, little meetups of people voting for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, which really was mind blowing the first time I saw it. So I don't know. I'm not huge on predicting what happens because typically I'm crap at it. But I think there's a chance that people have been, awoken to the dangers of Donald Trump, especially where he's now threatening to enact the Aliens and Seditions Act, which ultimately led to the Japanese internment camps during World War II, the internment of German citizens, the internment of Italian citizens, and so forth. And it's literally in Project 2025 what they want to do to the immigrants and how they want to round them up. They'll put them in pens.
Somebody needs to explain to me how Cubans in Florida think they're going to be exempt.
You say it perfectly. Where you say they just pull up the ladder behind them. You know what I mean? That's just what it is. I made it. But like you say, it's a mind blowing mental battle where it's like you know what it takes to get here, the struggles, the life that you are leaving to make, the life you left was bad enough where you took this ridiculous journey, you either paid money, you brought in drugs, whatever it may be, some way you did it on your own. The journey and what it takes. You finally get here. You've set up a life. You have a family and kids. And the first thing you think of when you get your ability to vote is to vote for the guy that wants to make it impossible for your other brothers, sisters, and family members to do the same thing that you did. That is mind-blowing to me, so I'm on your page.
I agree. That has been a consistent thing, though, with Republicans for quite some time. Especially Republican voting Cubans in Florida, Republican voting Hispanics in the Southwest, especially, and in Texas. That has been consistent. The new thing is Donald Trump's whole, we need to get rid of these people. We need to get rid of birthright citizenship. We need to get rid of, and you don't think that Cubans who came here and had one wet foot, one dry foot, and managed to save themselves by getting into the country, that he's not going to try or attempt to, or just go ahead and rescind all of that? Deport first, ask questions later. And if you can find your way back here from Cuba, maybe you're one of the good ones. Because I got to tell you, the whole tap dance of Marco Rubio maybe being on his ticket just seemed like another moment for him to humiliate Marco Rubio again for daring to speak out against him, that it was always rigged to just embarrass the dude. And I don't see how Cubans in Florida think they'll be, especially that they'll somehow be able to dodge this, whereas every other Hispanic culture in the country is suddenly going to get, is in danger of being rounded up just for being brown or just having an accent or just speaking mostly Spanish at home. That'll be enough for Trump's deportation force that he wants to put together to round you up and kick you out. And it'll be up to you, if you're even allowed to grab your wallet, to prove you're an American citizen to get back into the country. I don't know why Cubans think they will be exempt from this.
I just think, honestly, now just thinking about it, I think we're just overcomplicating it. I think they've bought into, and let's be real here, a lot of time, energy, money, resources has been put into a long lasted plan of propaganda to get into the minds of these susceptible people, right? So on one hand, you kind of have to have some empathy and they've been got by a system that has been built to do that exact thing. You know what I mean? Like Fox News, all the right-wing newspapers, that's what they're built to do, is to feed you propaganda so that you can believe the stuff that they want you to believe as opposed to the facts. So I just think that they've bought into this whole, Democrats are communist, socialist, Marxist, and they've left, knowing what they've just left that there's no way that they're going to vote for that because of what they've done to get over here to leave that same thing. So I just think they've bought into the whole communist social, even though it makes no sense, and they're opposing political systems and economic systems, and they don't go together at all. You can't be a communist, socialist, Marxist, fascist. You can't be all
at
of them
at the same time, right? Yeah. And by the way, the reason he throws all those together is because A, he doesn't know what they mean. B, he doesn't know which one will scare the person he's talking to the most, and primarily because he's pushing back against the cult accusation, and he can't say I'm not a cult, you're in a cult, because there is no equivalency on our side to that.
I think in his mind, he thinks, well, some of these people are leaving socialist countries. Some of these people are leaving what he perceives to be as communist countries. So if he says it all, then he'll be able to, encompass all of these people that he wants to get the votes from. You know what I mean? It's like, it's unbelievable to me because he even says, he brings up Dwight D. Eisenhower. He brings up Operation Wetback, which is ultimately a racist policy. The name itself is a racist, bigoted trope against immigrants. Just the fact that they had to cross the Rio Grande and their backs would get wet in the process. That's what the United States of America in the 50s named this whole thing. Operation Wetback was its name. That was the head title of the policy. And what it did was it rounded up American citizens as well as illegal immigrants and just brought them to the furthest parts of South America, dropped them off in places where they had no money, nothing, no clothes. They had nothing. You know what I mean? And like I said, in that process, American citizens, legal American citizens, were rounded up by mistake, whatever it may be, and that same thing will happen this time too. If there's a mass roundup, just like Hal just said, if the guy can't get into his house quick enough to get his wallet to show his papers, see you later. Sorry, Frank, doesn't matter. Find your way back when you can, I guess.
Yeah. If you can borrow somebody's phone in whatever country you're in, they can spend the next 3 years trying to get you back into the country.
And that process was a disaster too. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but just to finish, that whole Operation Wetback was a disaster. They tried to say they deported over 1 million people. Further reports, in hindsight, it was more like a lower 300,000 or less than 300,000. And in that 300,000, there were American citizens. So tell me if you think that was a failure or not. You know what I mean? When you're deporting your own citizens.
Right. And again, we got to take a break. We'll come back right after this. But I don't know how anybody who has a culture that's been at odds with the Republican Party that isn't like a white and specific kind of European, because believe me, they're getting choosy about that stuff too. Italians and Irish, you're on the list. Like that, understand that when they talk about who founded this country and which group it was, they have a very narrow view of even among white people who that is. So, hi. We'll be back right after this. It's the House Sparks video program, Mega Worldwide.
We just had some nice Democratic Kamala people at the door.
Oh, good.
Yeah, just a nice conversation.
Cool.
So,
Hi, Sama.
Hi,
today's the first day of early voting here.
Brian says hi.
Hello.
Well, you say that, Mike. I was putting this in your ear.
Oh, in my ear? Hello?
Yeah, now you guys can say hi.
Hi.
Oh, yeah, I keep forgetting she can't hear. That's so dumb.
I can't hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was just telling them we just had canvassing, just some Democratic Party at the door for Kamala. So
we had people canvassing for Kamala at the door. Yeah.
Let's go. I say Sama. I hope that's okay. I don't pronounce it right, I know.
No, that's great. So apparently it's our first day of early voting here, so they're out and about. But apparently our neighborhood's very divided, so.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I mean, we're 20 seconds coming back. Okay.
So,
all right.
anyways,
that's nice.
Wanted to let you know, yeah.
Can you believe how bad Twitter is now, Al?
Jesus. Well, I mean, two things. They dropped the block feature thing, and then and he just flooding it with bots.
I am happy, you are happy. Let us be happy together, whether the weather is cloudy or sunny. I will always be your funny honey bunny. I am lucky, you are lucky. Let us get lucky together, whether the weather is cloudy or breezy. I'll be there to say, hey, come on, let's take it easy. 'Cause isn't it nice to have the friends that you do? And isn't it nice that the sky is so blue? And isn't it nice to say I love you, chugga chugga choo choo, woo woo. I am smiling, you are smiling. Let us smile together, whether the weather is cloudy or stormy. I will still be there in the morning. I'll be right by your side in the morning. I'll make you breakfast in the morning. I hope that you like cereal.
Yay! Hooray! So,
I like
obviously,
that guy.
Yeah, he's good. In our in the next, I will say the best piece of news is the number of people, as far as a happy ending goes, the number of people in the chat room who voted already, and this is we got a big chat room. There's 4,000 people in my moving chat right now.
Yeah, I bring them all wherever I go. Hal, they follow.
That's what it
It's
is.
pretty much normal.
That's totally what it is. Yeah. Your entourage.
By the way, Blunt Politics on Sundays, 1 p.m. Please join me at Boston
there you
Brian
go.
on YouTube. That'd be great.
I'm for it, yeah. And it's, but the number of people in the chat, which is enormous, and of course, the internet is full. I apologize to anybody who's trying to get into the internet right now, but even outside it's packed, and you can't get in.
Set up
because of my
cameras
show.
so we can capture all the people outside waiting and cheering.
I keep trying to look, the mainstream media will not turn the internet around and look and see all the people waiting to get into the internet so they can be in my chat room. They won't do it. They're afraid because they're fake news. They're fake news, right? So
He said that at one of his rallies. He said the cameras wouldn't show like the dumb videos that he's showing, where he likes takes TikToks. Like he's literally just taking TikToks now and playing them at his rallies.
So lazy. He's so over it, Like I swear to God, he's trying to take my business model. My goal is to be the next Reverend Gene Scott, sitting on a stage and broadcasting from my horse farm, completely populated by playmates who tend to my horses for me, while I have Bible verses written on a chalkboard, and I just use a clicker to change
Just
the channel on the screen.
shoes behind you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, like a car wash in an 80s movie, right? Yeah, but with horse foam. And anyway, so like he's trying to take this, like we will see, like Trump is going to keep having rallies in air quotes after he loses again, because he's going to get these QAnon morons who think, like after the last election, that he was going to be magically reinstated and that Kamala Harris isn't really
We're
president.
going to do that. We're going to keep like saying in 2 months. Just wait.
Well, don't you think it's all fluff now? Am I wrong to think that anything that happens now from the anything now is just fluff? I feel like, people have decided. A lot of people have already voted. If you haven't made up your mind by now, chances are you're just not going to vote because you don't care that much or something. It's one of these things where there's no way not to have an opinion on this at some point.
And it's also why. Well, and again, he seems to have abandoned this idea of an outreach campaign trying to get to the independents, try to bridge the gap with women, any of that stuff. And other than largely, this idea of like, I'll sell shoes to black people and go to a barber shop because that's where they hang out and tell them how much I'm on the side of criminals. It's just embarrassing. But besides like doing that, he has effectively turned this into a base only and an increasingly shrinking base crowd. And there's this trade-off, it seems, between if you keep your base, when it comes to maggots, you lose these independents. If you get these independents, you lose your base. There's such a hard line, right, in between these groups that you can't. It's a direct. He literally is going, if I talk to these folks, these people get mad. If I talk to these folks, these people get mad. And so there's no winning. He can't expand his group no matter what because it's a zero-sum game. Whereas Harris does not have that problem. She's expanding. She's got a bunch of Republicans on stand with her going, look, Dick Cheney is supporting Kamala Harris because if the dog dies, the tick perishes with it. Right. And he knows that. America's the dog in this analogy.
And I feel like Donald Trump has made his choice in that, too. I think he's not trying to go for the independents or go for anybody that's undecided anymore. He's made his choice. He just said at his rally the other night. He was going off the wall and he was talking about some ridiculous nonsense and he's like brought his thoughts out onto the microphone where he's like, oh, some people have told me I should be nice to women don't like it when I'm like this, and he said I don't care, I'm not trying to get their vote or something along those lines. And it's the campaign people behind the scenes must have been like, no, like what are you doing, dude? Like you can't just say you don't want the vote of women. You know what I mean? Right. Like who does that?
Especially when that is the biggest electorate and you've already, and this may be the thing. He may be like, I'm never going to win these women back. He might just be realizing at this point, because that's true. He's not. Republican women, the kind, I think it was who's the woman who was the governor of Texas for a long time? I'm blitzing on her name, but she was like, she ran against Bush and she would talk crap about the Bushes all the time. Ann Richards? Ann Richards. Thank you, Chicago. Yeah, Ann Richards. Yeah, and she, there's a video circulating of her talking about a woman's right to choose during one of her debates, and she's like, "That's just sacrosanct. No woman needs the government telling them what to do with their body." And and this used to be a freedom talking point from the right, and she was very comfortable with it. Most Republican women were. And a lot of them, he's just driven them away. So those women are not going to come back to him. They're just not. So he's got to know this. So how do you make it up? You think there's a big enough incel vote out there to make up for it? I don't think so.
Unreal. Like, I don't even know what's next for these people. It's like, are they going to start giving, like, why don't we go in the opposite direction? If they're trying to control women, why don't they just go the full route? Why don't we just say, I don't know, anybody that doesn't use a condom, or anybody that does use a condom, because we want people to procreate, gets the death penalty. You know what I mean? You get the death penalty if you use a condom. You're stopping babies from being procreated, then you're a murderer.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. IUD is murder to these folks. IVF is murder to these folks. And the idea that Trump thinks that we'll settle it in the states and then these people will be fine after that. Like, it will settle it. The states will have it. It'll go back to the voters. Do you think pro-lifers who think IVF is a woman being a multiple murderer, because you take fertilized eggs and then once you're either pregnant or it doesn't work, you throw them out. Right, you dispose of them. Those are living human beings to these folks. Do you think those people are just going to give this all a pass? They're like, well, we lost fair and square in the Ohio State Senate. Or our little bill didn't pass. You think they're going to stop there? Of course not. What they're going to try to do is fight in the Supreme Court with a right-wing Supreme Court, try to get somebody like Donald Trump or somebody like or J.D. Vance in office so that they can cede the court, so the court can enforce a protection for unborn life from conception until medical science proves the soul doesn't exist or some nonsense, and that'll be that. And then women won't have the right to choose until somebody can institute it.
My girlfriend's sister is pregnant with a nice healthy baby right now due to the miracles of IVF. So yeah. Like I said, if you don't think it affects you directly, I guarantee it will affect somebody close to you or somebody that you work with or whatever it may be. So this is a widespread issue that has long-lasting impacts. And like Hal always says, women in this country, we're not fighting for their rights now. We're fighting to get back their rights because they've already been stripped. You know what I mean? So the fact that women can't just throw a dart at a map of the United States and say, I want to live there and I'm going to get the health care I deserve, I'm going to be able to make the choices with my body that I deserve to make is absolutely asinine. And something that in 2024 should never be part of today's society. So I don't think that's that difficult, really.
In 2.5 weeks, we are voting to make women like full citizens of this country.
Bring back their citizenship. Yep.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Women are second-class citizens in this country because if they want to live, if they're in the army or they're in the military in any capacity, or their partner is, and they get moved to a base in a red state, they have to sacrifice their rights in that state for and their health care. By moving to that state, they'll be forced to move there and give away some of their rights so that their partner or they can fight for the freedoms that we take for granted in this country. It's grotesque. It's disgusting. And it already happened. This is not an if. This already happened. And again, am I vote shaming from 2016? You damn right I am. Yeah. This was already baked then. The next president, which will be Kamala Harris, will pick at least 2 Supreme Court justices. If we're lucky, 3. It's and will be one of them. Maybe us replacing Sonia Sotomayor, who's the oldest liberal on the court. But the other 2 will more than likely be 2 of the conservatives, and will change the direction of the court to a more stable, honest, balanced view. They're not going to throw a bunch of activists in there. They're not going to make it they're not going to flood it with commies or some nonsense, what the Republicans want to say. They're just going to be people who adjudicate the law and look at it from a balanced, intelligent perspective based on the Constitution and broom some of these psycho-conservatives. And women will, at the very least, will be judged on the same plane as men. We will all be equal once again. And
I just tweeted out, Hal, something similar to what you just said, and it's like, if you sit this election out, if you do not take part in this election and you have the ability to do so, you are then directly responsible for the direction of what happens in this country, the direction this country takes going forward. Whatever happens afterwards, you can then blame yourself for at least having a part in not stopping whatever happens.
Right. The idea is that if you're driving a car and you take your hands off the wheel, if it careens into a ravine and kills everybody in there and injures you, you're responsible. If it careens through a parking lot and kills people, that's on you, because you have a responsibility and you relinquish that responsibility, and the thing you have responsibility for has massive impact on other people's lives. And never mind the fact that we're never going to get an assault weapons ban. We're never going to get, reasonable limitations on who can have a gun and when, red flag laws, registration, all the stuff that normal people want, including, 90% of gun owners. We're never going to have that stuff if Donald Trump and his ilk get back in office. And what we're going to see is the largest, most racist action in the country's history since slavery.
Can I just bring up one thing, too, before we bug out?
Quickly. Yep.
Foreign policy. Again, Donald Trump was talking about blaming Zelensky for the war. We've seen his talks about Gaza and Israel and what he'd do in that situation. I mean, if you think things are bad now, just double that, triple that, quadruple that if Donald Trump gets into office.
Boston Brian, thank you so much. Johnny Million, fantastic. Sorry, the other way. You guys are fantastic. See you guys later. Thank you, Chicago. And we'll see you guys next time. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Patreon.com/HalSparks. Patreon.com/Boston Brian. And Twitter and YouTube. It's Johnny Million. Sorry. Twitch, YouTube.
Chicago, I am so sorry, dude.
No worries.
I didn't.
I'm so defeated. I
didn't fucking swear at all this. Son of
but
a
what
bitch,
happened anyway? Is there like a timer where you catch it, or did everybody hear
Yes.
it?
Yeah. So you said it, and then I hit the dump button, so it didn't go on the radio.
Thank God. I'm so sorry, dude. I literally reminded myself this morning. I reminded myself going on the show. It just, when I get, I don't know, just when I get fired up about something, it's like a cannon, and then it just like.
You're all good, man.
Thank you, Chicago.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate it, man. You and your quick fingers. Is that how you got the job? You got to test how quick the person's fingers are.
Yeah. It's the same thing that Johnny Fever tests.
It's like that. It's like that app where you got to stop the timer at like 0.09 seconds or something like that. Like you got to get it exact on your phone. Anyway.
Thanks, Chicago.
All right, I got to hit the links. Hal, I appreciate you again.
Yes.
I apologize, dude. It's always nice talking to you. Hopefully this doesn't mean I'm kicked off the show.
Not at all. You're good.
That's it for you, pal.
Yeah, I know. Can't bring this guy anywhere.
No, it's totally fine, Brian. It'll work out. Now. Oh my God, Johnny. No, we were fine. Don't worry about it. It happens.
All right, lots of work to do, though.
Yes,
lots of work to do, guys. Make sure you get out there. Don't leave it hanging. Leave nothing on the field. We got to make sure that if we're gonna burn out, we're gonna burn out in fighting for the right thing.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So, but again, also take time for yourself. Also take a little time for yourself, because I've been getting messages from other people who are really stressed out about what could possibly happen, which way it could go, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. There's a lot on the line, but just make sure you're taking that time to watch a funny movie, shut off the TV altogether and read a book or whatever it may be. Cook a meal. You know what I mean? Sometimes that's nice for me. If you cook a nice meal and you're not thinking about things, and you can put on the person that's cooking the thing next to you, whatever it may be,
Watch Johnny's live stream because it's just music and entertainment and the like. And of course, I've got a show I'm doing Sunday in LA tomorrow night at the Improv for to raise money for cancer research. Regular old-fashioned, non-political comedy. I can't wait to get back to just the socio-political stuff I used to do all the time after we broomed this idiot and move back to like the regular order of life.
I don't think so, Hal. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news or the pessimist in this situation. But no matter what happens with Donald Trump, no matter what happens in this election, this fight is far from over. There are many people.
The fight's. I will say the fight's not over, but I will say that there is it lacks a figurehead, and that makes it a lot easier to deal with and a lot more scattered.
You're right. But I'm just saying there's a lot of people inside the government. There's a lot of politicians, senators, Republicans that we still have to broom that are, more than willing to do Donald Trump's bidding, regardless if he's in the position of power.
Right. But he's on a hard fade. They're going to start ignoring him, and they're looking for the next person to do this, and there just isn't one. And it's not going to be Don Jr. or Eric. It's never, again, this is a once
Please let it be. I would fuck. Now I'm gun shy.
Now you can swear.
Yeah.
But no, please let it be Don Jr. Please let it be Eric. That would be absolutely beautiful.
Oh, they're going to try, and it'll be fantastic watching it fail. Trust me.
You know who the best person would be ultimately? Probably Ivanka. You know what I mean? If you stuck Ivanka out there. No, I know. That's what I mean.
She won't do it.
She knows. Yeah. She knows better. She's got her $1 billion. What the fuck does she need to do?
She wants to be a Kardashian. That's the money there.
Right.
And she's got and she needs her dad to pass away and her brothers to shut the fuck up and go try to build.
He called her beautiful in a creepy way again this weekend when he was talking about the rink that he saved in New York City.
Right.
Yeah, Ivanka would ask me for 11 years straight. Oh, daddy, please take me ice skating. The beautiful ice skater. She's a beautiful thing, ice skating. It's like just the way he talks about it. It's not the words that he uses because I don't think it's weird to call your daughter beautiful or whatever. Obviously, so it's just the way in his past that we know Jeffrey Epstein and we know everything about him. It's just if you add everything together with what he's saying, it's just so creepy. With the whole breasts when he's talking about her breasts on The View or whatever the hell the show he's talking about. It's just like
that was Tiffany. That was Tiffany. What he said about her on The View was
Tiffany?
Tiffany hadn't been born yet. And he was saying, and we'll see if she's got the same thing that Marla has. That's what she was talking about. You're talking about Tiffany's when she was born, whether she'll have tits like her mom.
It's sick and gross.
It's fucking gross. I mean? It's so gross. But Ivanka, the whole thing was like, what do you have in common with her? I would say sex, but blah, blah, blah. That's what he...
Right. And she said golf like a normal person.
Right. And he went, she's kind of like this weird kind of like trying to work it up, but it's like, is there any
what the weirdest part is, Hal, is the lack of people standing up against it. Why in that situation would the person who were giving that interview? Was it The View or what was the name of the show there? That he said he was talking about sex with Ivanka. What do you have in common? What was that show?
I think it was.
It was like a similar to The View thing.
Yeah,
I forget what the hell the name.
It was just like a morning show. It was like a Good Morning. It was like a Good Morning New York thing. Yeah.
They did say that was gross, but they're all laughing at it. Why would not? Why? And the same thing with the economics. John Micklethwaite. What are these people? Why do they let him, John Micklethwaite let Donald Trump say that he's been wrong in his whole career and he doesn't know anything about tariffs. He's been wrong about tariffs. Why do you take that from that guy?
But I don't know. But
you would dominate that conversation. John Micklethwaite would run circles around Donald Trump talking about economics, talking about financial policies.
Right.
And it's why he chooses not to do so. In my Midas Touch video, you'll see I made a supercut of how uncomfortable John Micklethwaite is in that interview. He's moving around in that seat like a fucking slimy snake.
Yeah.
He can't sit still. He's like this guy, drinking his coffee. He's like, every time Donald Trump says something crazy, he's like, Jesus Christ, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I haven't seen a Brit that uncomfortable since fucking they had to meet with the German emissary. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Yeah. since the Treaty of Versailles, right?
Dude, it's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. Like, people don't just stand up for themselves and say, listen, buddy, I've been in this, like, if that was me, I would have been like, who the hell are you? Like, I've been in this business for 30-something years. I'm the editor-in-chief of Bloomberg. I'm telling you right now that your economic policy would add $7 to $11 trillion or whatever the hell it is onto the national debt. They're talking about your tariffs, raising prices for American people. This is all real stuff. Why you continue to say it's not and tell me that you know better, I don't know. That's how I would have handled it, but maybe I'm different. I don't know.
Well, you also would have had some maggot show up at your doorstop, in your doorway with a fucking rifle, like the Cincinnati FBI office. That's why a lot of these guys tap dance around this, because they're like, especially if they think he's over, because you fight back against this guy if you think he's a real threat. But a lot of these guys are like, he's fucking done, and they sit there with him and they know it, so they don't bother to push back because they're like, whatever, fucking keep flapping, dummy. You know what I mean? It's the equivalent of Mickleswaite was basically like holding him by the forehead as Trump was like doing this, in his own
how many
mind.
people are going to see that clip? Like millions of people will now see that clip of Donald Trump telling you that you know nothing about what you're talking about. You know what I mean? I just would not let that happen. That would not be a situation where I would let millions of people see this idiot slumped over in his chair like a decrepit fucking orange left out in the sun in Florida, telling me that I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about as the editor-in-chief of Bloomberg. It's asinine. It's asinine that these people let it happen. It continues to happen. He goes on Fox News, the morning show that you were talking about, where he possibly was sitting on a continent pad. I don't know. I'm back and forth on that. At first, I said it was his suit coat. I even tweeted that it was his suit coat. I was kind of rebutting people. And then I went back and looked at it a second time because somebody said, just take a second look. And I did. And I'm on the fence now. It looks black to me. His suit is blue. And it looks fucking way too fucking big to be his suit coat. Like, it's just fucking enormous. And I don't think suit coats have the tail, and I understand that, but it is fucking enormous.
Well, his coat, he's shrinking, so his coats have gotten bigger too, and it's weird. It's like it's either Ozempic or something, but they hang longer than they did because they used to hang over his kind of gut and sides, and now
the color of it is black.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, I don't know, maybe it sucked up into his asshole when he stood up, or it fell down into the crack of the thing. We don't know. But either way, it's like the fact that he was like shrinking and that he's fucking tiny in it compared to everybody else was super odd. That's the part that really stood out to me. And granted, if
you could see him walk into Dan Bongino's interview, lumbering to get in the fucking doors. You know what I mean? It's like you can tell he's done with it, and it's like, he keeps bringing up how many days in a row he's worked. You know what I mean? So that people can say, oh, if he is tired, this is the reason he is. Which also right hand up, I'm sure anybody would be tired in that situation, going fucking that. But
you and I both
you got to recognize it.
You and I both talk for a living, and we know it's work. But we also know it's not digging fucking ditches, or farming manure at the equator in a wetsuit. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that
plumbing
kind of fucking work. You're right. Plumbing, yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great, it is, the difference between sitting down and talking on a podcast for 25 minutes in between Diet Cokes and a fucking car ride, and you have a whole fucking staff bringing you lunch, whatever you want, all the fucking time. You know what I mean? Like
compared to putting in a drainage system for an apartment complex or something.
Yes, right, exactly. There's a fucking difference. So this idea that this asshole acts like he works in a fucking salt mine when he's right. Fuck off. Like, I get it's not easy, and you do have meetings and you all this stuff, and Harris has way more to do because she's a sitting vice president. She actually has shit to do.
Right. And it's not like he's in and out of airports either. He's got his own fucking plane, goes right onto the runway.
It's got a bed
in and out. It's bed. Right. He's got a bed where he can lie down. Right.
It's not like his ideas are new and they're trying to work out new plans. He stopped giving a shit a long time ago. So,
all right, Hal, I love you. I got to take off because it gets my tea time.
And
have
Johnny's
fun golfing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Johnny. I appreciate you, brother. And thank you guys for all that you do, really. Hal, Johnny, the fact that you guys dedicate so much time to this and making sure that people are aware and involved is hugely important. The chat, I love you guys. Sparklers, Bryantologists, which is hilarious to me. That's awesome. But I love it. Thank you guys so much for being involved, for staying involved.
Yes.
The reason that we are going to win this election is you guys in the chat. That's
right,
why,
yeah.
because of you guys sharing the knowledge and spreading the awareness to people. That's why we're going to take it down, and I just want to thank you for it. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I appreciate you having me.
You too.
Awesome.
Love
All
you
right.
guys.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
go.
Blunt Politics Sundays. Thank you.
Yes. Blunt Politics tomorrow, 1:00. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. And I would like to say, for the record, it used to be a long time ago that I had trouble figuring out when to do breaks on the show, and I would occasionally swear, and I got past all that. And Andrea, don't get stressed. It's not. None of this is falling on you for helping us organize. It was my idea to have Brian on, and I will again. Damn it. Because I love the dude, and same with Johnny Million. So I'm very proud of myself that I haven't sworn on the air in a long time. It's not out of the question that it'll happen again, but mostly out of joy after this dipshit loses the election, and he will. And I'm just letting you know that. You guys are wonderful. Take care of yourselves, and I think most of all. Let's see, hold on. Take care of the kidney is the...
The kidney has a very special place in the heart.
Ah, yes. That's, I could argue with that, but I'm just not going to. Oh, give me some of those emotes, Twitch. Let's get a last minute hype train going. Hype train. Hype train. Everybody loves the hype train. Everybody loves the hype train. Hype train. Everybody loves the hype train. Yes. Everybody. Hype train. Hype train. Hype train. Hype, hype, hype. We've been on a hype train, baby. Hit that like, share the show. Love you guys. See you later.